Welcome to What's Wrong with Wolfie. My name is Jason.
And I'm Rich.
And I'm Chris.
This time, it's the movies of 1996. And at the top of the show, as always, I would like to give a massive shout out to our supporters, Andrew and Tristan. Thank you so much, guys. You are amazing. And if you would like to do the same, you can join the Wolfie Club, where you can join a membership starting from just £1, or you can just give us a one-off donation to the show. Head on over to buymeacoffee.com/thewolfiepod to see all the options. Well, we finally made it to 1996. Woohoo! A year in which one of the biggest movies to date was being released. I am, of course, talking about Independence Day, a huge film that swept the world with its depiction of the White House being destroyed and its stellar cast. We plan to cover this film in much more detail on the next Discusses episode. Other major releases saw Tom Cruise start his life as Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible, Tim Burton showing us he hadn't lost his touch with Mars Attacks, and Bill Murray and Michael Jordan teaming up with Bugs Bunny and co. in Space Jam. In my show notes it says Spam Jam.
That sounds like a much better film.
It does.
It's like the Monty Python version of Space Jam.
Yeah. Spam Jam. We have some excellent films to discuss this episode with Happy Gilmore, The Rock, and of course Star Trek First Contact on the menu. The awards game returns, and we take a quick look at the top 10 grossing movies in the UK of 1996. But before we do any of that, we just want to mention some sad news we received this week of the passing of the legendary Ivan Reitman, a man who brought us many top films, like Twins, Stop or My Mum Will Shoot, Beethoven, the underrated Evolution film, and of course, Ghostbusters. He leaves a legacy that will live on forever, and he will be missed. I am just really happy, though, in some ways, that he got to spend that last portions of his life with his son making Ghostbusters Afterlife before he passed. I know you guys wanted to say a few words before we move on. Just really quite a big shock, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and I was just like, what? Like, no. And he'd shepherded Ghostbusters Afterlife from conception all the way through to the final product, and then like news broke, and you're like, what? Wow. Like,
almost
gut punch.
Kind of had that. Okay, it's different, I guess, but it almost had that kind of. I mean, yeah, it's more wrapped in our nostalgia. It goes deeper than this particular person, but it almost had that kind of Heath Ledger feel to it, where he was so fresh in your mind because he was involved in a project that was really at the forefront of your mind. And obviously, this has a lot more ties emotionally, childhood and all that. And it almost seemed like it was. I don't sound weird, but it's almost like it kind of was meant to be. Like it was almost like he's kind of parting gift in a way, working with his son, spiritual successor to the original Ghostbusters films, and just even the fact that he actually was involved in the process and bringing Harold Ramis back to life on screen. It was kind of now he's gone as well, and it's just like, you're processing it even on the most basic level that he's passed, but it's so much extra baggage there because of Afterlife, because of all the things in the making process of that film. And it's just, it's made it doubly hard to take. If he was just the guy that made Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and that was it, and then you kind of just looked back at those films because he's so sort of part of the zeitgeist at the moment, in the past, 1 to 2 years. It's just,
I mean, even before, obviously, we had the 2016 Answer the Call, but he was influential in forming Ghost Corps.
Yeah.
So through social media, Ivan Reitman has been an actual constant figure in the fandom, and then all of a sudden it's just like he's gone, and you're like, such an influence on our childhood. I mean, we used to go on DVDs. I mean, like VHS videos, real Ghostbusters spawned from obviously 1 and 2, and it's just like, it's mad.
Yeah.
And Valentine's Day as well. Sorry, it's just like that scene's become more poignant.
Yeah.
It's just didn't expect it, and I don't think they've even released a cause. It was just died in his sleep, wasn't it? It was just
I do believe so. But it's only like last week I was like watching special features on the Afterlife Blu-ray. I'm like seeing him sitting there with Jason Reitman. I'm just like, this is so nice. This is so nice. And then I saw it trending. I mean, I told you guys in our WhatsApp chat. It just saw Ghostbusters trending. Oh, what's this? What's this? And then boom. I was like, huh.
Yeah, 'cause it was like 7:30 in the morning. Yeah, I just got out of the shower, like getting ready for work, and I saw your message, and I was just like, "What? No."
Yeah, hard man, really, really hard.
But he really leaves a legacy, doesn't he? Like when I was looking back at his career, I mean, we all knew that he'd done a lot of films, but I didn't really realize how many films he's actually like produced or directed or executive produced or and he's had such a great career, and he's produced so many fabulous films, and it's just a loss, isn't it, for everybody?
It wouldn't surprise me if it was a lot of uncredited work as well as producer and usher and that kind of thing, especially in the early 80s. Like getting these comedy vehicles moving, and similar to like Carrie Fisher, wasn't it? Everyone assumed, she was an actor, but she started as a script doctor. Yeah. A lot of it uncredited. Yeah. And it wouldn't surprise me if Ivan Reitman was uncredited on a lot of projects to flesh them out. But it's a loss. It's
funny. It's most funny you bring up Carrie Fisher as well. It's a similar thing. She kind of came back into the limelight and then was taken. And it's like, it's just, I don't know, man, it's fucked. I mean,
Well, rest in peace, Ivan. You'll forever be remembered down here on planet Earth, and forever, evermore.
What do you learn from other directors, movies you see made? What informs what you do?
Life sounds so big, but it's trying to keep my eyes open in terms of what goes on in human interaction, particularly in a comedy. The best comedy comes out of sort of real situations which are slightly exaggerated, or where you skew things in just that way that we're reminded of the comedy of life. And so I'm, a lot of times my wife Genevieve says, "Hey, Ivan, will you pay attention to what's going on here?" Because she can tell that I'm zoning out somewhere, and what I'm really doing is really focusing a little outside of what's happening, and just watching instead of participating. And I think,
and looking at it as material,
and just learning from it, and then what happens as I start to work. I work on the screenplays of all my films, and I'm always trying to find that thing,
What's that thing?
That thing that makes the scene more delicious. There's the plot requirement, there's the character requirements, the story requirements, but you have that in a drama. Now, what makes comedy so damn tough is that on top of that, you have to think of that thing that twists it a little bit so that the audience on a very regular basis is chuckling or laughing, hopefully. Mm-hmm. And that's a tremendous pressure, both on the performers and particularly on the director.
Well, let's go and let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted, shall we? And move into the UK box office, the most grossing films of 1996, and we're starting the top 10 with Trainspotting, which took in £12 million. Was this one that really, I don't know, was really that bothered by Trainspotting at the time?
It's never really my kind of cup of tea.
I don't think I've actually seen it properly.
Danny Boyle to me is 28 Days Later, and that's it. Because I don't give a shit about anything else. You give me Infected people, fantastic, I'm there. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you get Ewan McGregor's cock in it, whatever. That's cool. He climbs down the toilet, fantastic. And there's that baby on the ceiling.
Baby on the ceiling, yeah.
That's messed up. But yeah, I don't really have any other endearing memories of this film.
Yeah, I think we were, especially for you two, I guess it was probably a bit too young for these kind of films, wasn't it? Maybe.
Yeah, I was watching.
I was grounded for a week.
Came out.
I don't know. Just thinking about me, because I know I've got a couple of years on you, But I mean, thinking about, I never really had that much history with this film, just because it just wasn't my cup of tea. I don't know. It just didn't really seem.
I never
It
gravitated.
seemed a bit too grown up for me,
Yeah.
and so I just really weren't that bothered. And even to this day, I've not really gone back and watched it properly, even though I know it's supposed to be really good. You know, it is a good film, great film. Okay, number 8 was Jumanji, shit film. Number 7 was
The one with the rocks better. So
I love Jumanji. It's a quality film. Although my youngest kid will not watch it anymore because he doesn't like it. It scares him too much, which disappoints me. But
What scares him? The ropey CG monkeys, or
I don't know what it is actually. But every time we see it on Netflix, like if we're looking through Netflix and he sees it, it's like, move it. I don't want to. He doesn't even see the poster image. So I don't know what it is about Jumanji he doesn't like, but I love Jumanji. It's a quality film.
Robin Williams acting like a man-child. It's perfect. I mean, come on. Like, what year is it?
Yeah. Number 7 was Twister with
Jeff Tracy.
yeah,
who was in this?
Helen Hunt.
Phil Paxton.
Quite TV.
Helen
I won't lie, Helen Hunt's never been like a babe to me, but I had kind of a crush on her in this film. Can't tell why. It's Helen Hunt, but yeah, that's one of my most endearing memories. Actually, one of my most endearing memories with this film actually was I remember seeing it in the cinema. I remember walking to the cinema and the skies were so black. And I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" It was like a secret cinema experience. It was like, but from my home to the cinema, it was like fantastic.
I don't think I saw this in the cinema.
Really?
No, I don't think I did.
Such a good film. It's a good film.
Yeah, I saw it at the pictures. Haven't seen it since, but I don't know. It's one of those films that you're happy to see it once, and that's about it, really.
It's a film that I didn't realise until maybe like a couple of years ago that was actually Philip Seymour Hoffman. It's like the least Philip Seymour Hoffman role characterization I've ever seen. It's like a character that Jack Black should be playing, but it's like Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Number 6, Mission Impossible.
Didn't see
Number
that.
5, Monkeys.
I liked that film a load. I didn't know a fucking thing that was going on. Like Job and all this stuff. I was like, what is this? Yeah, Vanessa Redgrave confusing the shit out of me. But the train bit was cool, so that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, it took itself very seriously, this one, didn't it?
Good.
And I appreciate where they took the series. I think they made the right call in making it a bit more action-oriented and a bit more
rather than espionage. And
had a banging remix of the theme tune as well from Adam Clayton.
Yeah.
So cool.
But I kind of appreciate what they tried to do with this first one. But
yeah,
I think the original TV show, I mean, that didn't take itself overly serious either, did it? So
I think as a franchise, as it went on, it falls more in line with other franchises. Now there's a lot of humor in it. Like it doesn't. Yeah, and it knows when to have some kind of levity. But yeah, that one was very, very straight laced.
I think what
twisty turny espionage, and I remember watching it on video. I think we rented it, and I remember being like, I was 11 or 12, and I was like, this is pretty cool. But the only exposure I'd had to any Mission Impossible stuff was it Sunday mornings on BBC Two or something like that.
Channel 4 would have been.
Channel 4.
Definitely Channel 4.
The only reason I ever wanted to watch it when I was a kid was because it had Leonard Nimoy in it as Paris.
Oh, yeah. Was that like the 80s show? They kind of came back, didn't it?
No, this was back in the Mission Impossible early days. I think it was like season 3 or 4 Leonard Nimoy joined.
Okay.
Yeah, they did that really crappy remake in the 80s or whatever, but that's the only reason I sought it out, because I was like really big in Star Trek. I'm like, didn't realise he did that. I'll watch that.
Played in 64 game based on the film? Or?
No, I didn't.
It was good. It was ropey in places, but good in others. Yeah. It was good. It was alright.
My only biggest memory I have of Mission Impossible is the fact that at the time I started working in London. So I was going through Liverpool Street Station every morning to get to where I was working. And then there was a whole scene in this film of Liverpool Street Station, and it just kind of blew my mind that this place that I walked through every day was being in a big major Hollywood film. And I was going, oh look, that's where I go, and that's the exit I go through, and that's there, and that's this shop up there, and that I just thought it was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And
number
Emilio
5
Estevez got killed in the opening, 10 minutes?
He did. Took like a spike to the face from an
Yeah,
elevator shaft.
when I was a kid, I remember saying, I think it was to my mum, I was just like, is that Emilio Estevez? And then he was in it for like 10 minutes and he was dead. And I was like, they're not going to have him in a film. And he wasn't even top billed, was he? It was just like,
Nah.
what is going on?
I mean, they wasted it's not Emma Thompson, it's like a similar actress, British actress who's in that same opening who gets killed as well. I think she gets like stabbed in the alleyway or something. And she was an actual actress. I can't remember her name. But they just did the whole like Drew Barrymore thing where it's like, we're going to put these actors in it and we're just going to fucking waste them.
Yeah.
There's like some expectations. Like,
and we're going to put all these actors in the trailer as well.
Yeah.
Like, and then kill them off.
And there's John Voight with a rubber face.
Oh, John Voight. Oh, fuck. But at least in the recent ones we get Rebecca Ferguson, so
yeah,
win-win.
Yeah, she's cool. But yeah, Tom Cruise, piece of shit.
Separate the art from the artist.
Yeah.
Well, in some extreme circumstances, anyway. Answers on a postcard, 200-word essay by Monday. Mic drop.
Number 5, 12 Monkeys. I've never seen it. I have no interest in seeing it.
Yeah, so. Terry Gilliam's a piece of shit as well. So. Sorry, on that note.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Richard's Piece of Shit Hour.
Yep.
It's a milkshake podcast. We just cancel everyone.
Can you find a piece of shit in the next 4 films? Mm-hmm. Number 4 was 7.
Kevin Spacey, come on. King shit of piece of shit mountain. I mean, God.
What's
I've never
in
seen
the box? What's in the box? Spoilers. Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
Don't spoil it. I've never seen it. So
you didn't hear that, then, Jason?
No.
Anything to stop her from selling those candles. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! We'll have all your lawsuits filed by 9 a.m. Tuesday.
Anyway, sorry, Jason. Continue.
You got your sniper's rifle ready, Rich, for the next one.
I can't wait.
Yeah, but I feel like I really should see 7. I feel like it's one of those films that need to be watched.
6 was better.
What was?
Fuck.
What was? I missed that.
So 6 was better.
Oh, God's sake. Where's the mute button?
If we're going on some numbers jokes, then 7 should be a really, really like terrible, like violent movie.
Yeah.
Because it 8-9.
Oh, God, don't.
Oh, no. You saw it coming. Come on.
The
joke wrote itself.
Number 3 was Disney's 101 Dalmatians, the live action one with Glenn Close.
Oh, who else was in that cast?
Anything against Glenn Close, Rich?
No.
Not
I can think of.
Jeff Daniels.
No, he's alright.
No.
He's sound.
Jolie Richardson.
Rest in peace? No, is that
no, that's Natasha Richardson.
Oh, shit, sorry.
We can confirm that Jodie Richardson is still alive and well, everyone.
Oh, no. He's got a piece of shit coming out this one and all. Number 2 was Toy Story.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Right, let's not worry about the piece of shit people in the films.
That is,
let's worry about the actual film in itself.
Okay.
Let's just replace Tim Allen's voice with Chris Evans. Just
much nicer to look at. So.
Just to redub it all.
And a lot less racism.
Man crush.
Yeah, absolute babe.
Pinnacle film, really, isn't it? Toy Story.
Mm-hmm.
It's it was the first. It took animation to the next level, and it hasn't looked back since. I mean, hand-drawn animation films just completely died on its arse after this film was released, and they tried again a few years down the line, but nobody wanted to see hand-drawn animation films anymore. They just wanted to see computer-generated, and that's what it is to this day. That's what kids' films are. Mm-hmm. Shows you what the power this film had on the industry. And in some ways, personally for me, I feel like it's a little bit sad that the hand-drawn style has died out because of Toy Story. There was something about that. I mean, maybe it's just where I
think
grew
it
up
was
with it.
the whole 3D thing, wasn't it? Where you can replicate on a 2D screen what your eyes see in real life. And I think it was more of a visual attachment that kids had. And I remember being blown away. I was like, what the hell is this? Like, this is, and then obviously all the other animation studios followed suit. And I love hand-drawn animation. I love the old Disney stuff. I love the Don Bluth stuff, anything like that. But where CG has gone now in the past 25 odd years is insane.
Yeah.
You just got to look at recently Encanto and Luca, right? They are just stunning films. Obviously, one's done by Disney Animation, one's done by Pixar. They're two separate things. But then you look at Toy Story and you watch Toy Story on a 4K TV, you're like, it's jarring.
It's not watching a reboot.
But at the time, all the textures are off and things are like, it's just weird. It's very, high school CG project now, isn't it? It's like, but
I think that's probably, at least early on, even though at the time it was kind of groundbreaking, I think then it's probably easier to be a bit concerned that it was replacing CG and replacing hand-drawn, because it did still have that kind of cold lifelessness to it. It felt a bit sterile and a bit, the textures were missing. But yeah, if you gave 1995 me or any of us Encanto, we'd be like, you know what, fine, put the pencils down.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah.
So there's so much life to animation. It doesn't feel weightless, doesn't feel bland.
No.
It has life, it has warmth to it. It's earned its place as replacing hand drawn. I mean, I'm not against hand drawn at all, but I don't miss it. Maybe I've just adjusted to it
because it's just become a constant now, and animation studios barely put out any hand drawn stuff anymore.
Yeah,
which is quite ironic, really, because a lot of animation studios and directors are pushing out a lot of content with stop motion and go motion.
Yeah.
Like, look at Leica Studios productions. Jesus Christ, that stuff's stunning.
Yeah.
Like Coraline, and it's just like, wow.
Even the stuff that looks like it's classic, animation style, it's like it's fed for a computer. It's like computers have taken over.
So every time you watch, Family Guy used to be hand drawn.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a weird segue I'm going on here, but now it is all, like you said, the characters are put through a computer and are animated.
South Park, it was construction paper, and now it's fed through a computer in a week. They write an episode in a week.
Yeah. It's so topical, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're just. I mean, it must be nicer for animators when you're dealing with CG. Obviously, you're using assets. You've got a character model. You put it in a scene, whereas you have to draw every frame of a character. You can't copy and paste it. It's literally pen strokes and colouring in and sod that. No, I'd rather use an asset on a computer.
But it's still an art form.
Exactly.
It's annoying when people say, "Oh, CG, they just turn the computer on and go." It's like, no. Like, if you watch people do these CG projects, it takes months, if not years, just to construct one scene.
Yeah.
And just like, it's still producing. It's still, you're making something from nothing. It's still an art form. And prime example, I was laying on the floor because of my back watching Encanto with our nieces the other night, and it's just like, I was literally 6 inches from the TV, just laying on the floor, and I was just like, guys, you need to lay down here and watch this, because this is stunning from here. Absolutely stunning. Textures, imperfections in the skin, veins in the eye whites and stuff. So, wow, like, what the hell have we come on in 25 years? Is mad. But yeah, Toy Story, very influential. Blew our minds.
But I will say Disney are out Pixaring Pixar now. Like,
yes, they are.
Which isn't crazy, but they are. Yeah.
You just have to look at, again, to bring up Encanto, it's just like, look at that shit. Just
Soul
look at
was shit, Inside Out was shit.
Yeah. And weirdly, we watched was it a film called Ron's Gone Wrong, which was an independent film?
I heard about it, not watched it.
It was an independent film released through Disney, and that looks stunning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was done, I think, on like, not what the kind of stuff Pixar would push out, or Disney, but we only watched it because the kids were around. We had the kids around at the weekend, and they're like, "Oh, we'll watch this." And it was like one of those things where, like, wow, like Pixar started this war, and now they're kind of like bringing up the tail end of it at the moment. And
It's almost like Disney have learned from the masters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was that turning point, wasn't it, when they released Tangled? Princess and the Frog was like, yeah, this is the last hand-drawn one we're going to do. Then they come out with Tangled, and like, this is awesome. But again,
I love the film. My God, I'm start crying already.
Yeah, like the CG structure of like Disney and Pixar are pretty much the same, but the structure of the ideas, such as recently Luca and stuff like that, are vastly different from each other. Pixar are going for that like niche art house kind of like idea spark.
Yeah,
Disney are just going, yeah, we're just gonna make this, and we're gonna put these songs in it, and and it's gonna be fun. Pixar is just very thought-provoking sometimes. I've had
say that, and then they did Cars, but
yeah, well, and they're still churning them out. Well, we're on Cars 10 now.
Ciao.
I hope they kind of turn it around, though. I mean, Pixar have released some amazing films over the years, so it would be a shame to see the studio's standards drop or be a shame. Yeah, it'd be a shame for their standards to stay where they are at the moment and not get back up to where they used to be.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a lot of Pixar's recent stuff has been produced during lockdown, so a lot of the films are actually being finished from people's home offices, which is stunning when you look at a film like Soul and you think to yourself, that was done by people at home during COVID. It looks phenomenal. But when we watched Luca, I was just like, something's not landing right with me with Luca. I don't know what it was. Something just missed me there with Luca. Looks stunning, but Soul, I think, looked better. Separated by a year, but it's just amazing what they're pushing out as well. But we're not slating Pixar. We're just saying how influential they were.
No, it's just a shame because obviously they were the company that started the animation where we're at now with it, and they were the pinnacle of this platform for many years, and they brought out superior films with great storytelling and interesting visuals. And I guess to see their standards slip a little bit, because you knew, back then, if a Pixar film was coming out, you knew it was going to be great. You knew it was in for a good story. You knew it was in for good visuals. You knew it was just going to be a great experience. But now you're not so sure, are you? And do you think it's something to do with Disney, like just chucking Pixar films straight onto Disney Plus these days instead of?
I almost wonder so much if maybe Pixar hasn't necessarily fallen back, but everyone's just kind of caught up, including Disney. I mean, I'm not going to say about Dreamsmirks because their stuff's trash, but you got like Blue Sky, you've got was it Imagination? Yeah, I mean, even obviously just from a technological standpoint, they're on par now, more or less. But
yeah, I mean,
there are some good films. Some of them are just garbage. But I don't know. You might have a point about Disney Plus. I mean, but then I can say that for stuff as a whole, really. The whole model of putting stuff out now, it does kind of lessen the value and the impact of it, and it feels lesser as a result. I mean, even some of the Marvel stuff, I'm like. Yeah.
I think it's just easier to access now. It's like this overwhelming, like, oh, well, I guess we'll watch this. It's not an event anymore. It's like...
Yeah, well, Black Widow came out, and it was like, all those years, everyone was like, oh, Black Widow, is there going to be a Black Widow film? And then they did one, and I watched it on my couch. It's like, never went to the cinema. Yeah. And it changes the way you feel about it. It changes the connection you have, the impact it has with you. I mean, it wasn't a great film, but it was still good. But it definitely was lessened for that. So... Yeah, I think maybe Disney are kind of working against themselves a little bit, but I don't know.
We had family down last weekend. Well, it was my wife's cousins, and we put Disney Plus on, and we were like, "The King's Man is already on there."
And West Side Story is out in 2 weeks.
Yes, and not only that, the new Wes Anderson movie is on there, and it's just like, what the hell? It was only in cinemas 3 weeks ago, and you're like. What? And it's not even. There's not even like a surcharge. They're not charging you an extra $5 to watch an exclusive thing. It's just
Premier Access, or whatever it's called.
It's just garbage. There, and it's just like wait 2 or 3 weeks, and you got it. That's mad.
Mental, isn't it? considering like if we're in 1996 right now, it'll probably be 3 years before
Exactly.
watching the film on
If you don't
telly.
catch it in the cinema, you got to wait for video or DVD, and then
Yeah,
you
and
don't catch it on a
what
Premiere channel, or you haven't got Sky Movies or whatever claptrap you
you know,
out.
and that kind of goes back to what Rich is saying, and kind of loses its, I don't know, just loses something of the film, doesn't it? Like going to the cinema and to see a film as an experience, you know.
Yeah.
You know you're not going to get that experience to see that film again for X amount of time.
Whether it's that or renting a film back in the day, you used to seek something out, whereas now you'll just scroll through Netflix and you'll find something, but you weren't necessarily seeking it out. So I think it doesn't hold your attention in the same way. Add to that, you've got more distractions now anyway. You play with your phone, you don't pay attention to it. Everything just has less value. It's just there, and it doesn't carry any kind of like emotional or even financial investment. If you don't like it, you've not wasted £3 at your local corner shop renting the video out. You just put on something else.
That's funny, isn't it, Rich?
Yeah.
Because
Let's rent a movie. Oh shit! Wait a minute.
But even like renting a film, you know, the experience of going to Blockbusters or wherever you rented your films. Happy Shopper. It was an experience, you know, and it was fun. It was a fun thing to do, to go to Blockbusters and rummage through the videos and see what films they had in stock and hope that they still had a copy of the big film that's just been released so you could take it home with you. And
hillbillies.
And that's all gone now. We could just sit on our asses on our couch and flick through Netflix for half an hour and then turn the telly off.
Disney just consolidates everything into one thing. It's like, oh god, it's so good, but it's so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. But we went way off topic on that. But
sorry.
It was a good chat. It was a good chat. But let's finish off the UK box office for 96 with obviously the number one film, which was Independence Day. And obviously we're going to go into this into much more detail in our discussions for 1996. But I mean, it was a massive film. It was huge, wasn't it? And it just caught. There was just a storm of Independence Day. And it's like, you've got to go and see this film, because if you don't go and see this film, you're missing out. You're not part of the cool gang, or it was just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably one of the, you know, we've had big blockbuster films before, Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, but I don't know, there was something about this film that seemed to be even bigger than those films.
It was the golden age of the blockbuster. It was mid-90s. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Roland Emmerich's like real big break, really. I mean, I know Stargate and stuff, but this was like the big like populist blockbuster film.
Yeah, I think it was like Stargate was a very cerebral, thought-provoking, kind of like a slow burn of a film, like asking questions at you, like, and then here comes Independence Day. We're going to literally like destroy the Earth, and it's like Rich said, it's like that first start of apocalyptic movies that have never really stopped for the past 20 years nearly.
I mean, for me as well, it's like it came at the perfect time. I was really into UFOs, aliens, watching X-Files, and then getting the classic, you know, hostile alien story, but through like a big 90s blockbuster, big budgets, you know, special effects, you know, filter was just like, oh my god, this is everything I could ever wanted. And I was watching like the old like 60s War of the Worlds film on TV back in the day. I was like, oh, this is fun, aliens. But then it's like, oh yeah, this is what? Yeah, this isn't. This is this ain't War of the Worlds. This is like the proper stuff. And I was just so excited. Remember getting like the preview magazine for the film.
Yeah,
of course, got Independence Day UK with Nicky Campbell and Toy Wilcox.
That's going back a bit. That is.
It was Toy Wilcox, wasn't it? Christ. I got everything. I was getting figures. Never got a video game, but I immersed myself. Like with Jurassic Park, I completely immersed myself in Independence Day leading up to release. It's just, it was an event. that whole idea of a massive blockbuster now. I think it still has the same power these days, but everything's kind of under the Marvel banner, probably, if it matters that much. I mean, yeah, maybe there are other examples, but then it was so significant. You'd get maybe one, maybe two big blockbusters a year. Maybe not every year, maybe every few years. It was just, it was the film.
You know, when you just like, when you're a kid and you watch these films, you're like, that was too much. I need to watch that again just to like work out what the hell was going on. And it had the gross out factor as well. It literally had everything perfectly balanced.
Mm-hmm.
It had the gross out factor where you find out that the aliens are actually, this is their like exoskeleton, and their heads split in two, and it's all gooey, and it's just like it just had that perfect balance of gross out, comedy, drama, action, and lots of Jeff Goldblum, which is just good.
Yeah, perfect. The perfect mix. But like we say, we're going to go more into detail in discusses, because right now we've got other films to talk about. I want to start this section of the podcast off with Rich's choice for our film picks for 1996. Rich, what film have you brought?
It's Happy Gilmore.
I think most people have found their way over to Happy Gilmore. He's been the talk of the course today with his huge drives and his amazingly bizarre behavior. He's on the 17th green right now, having a little trouble closing out his day.
Happy, the ball itself has its own energy, or life force, if you will. Its natural environment is in the hole. So why don't you send him home? His bags are packed. He's got his airplane tickets. Bring him to the airport. Send him home.
Send him home. I just send him home. Time to go home there, ball.
Son of a bitch, Ball, why didn't you just go home? That's your home! Are you too good for your home? Answer me! Suck my white ass, Ball!
Virginia, put out a press release concerning Happy Gilmore being thrown off the tour. I want to see a draft by 6 p.m.
You're right. He was out of line. His behavior is completely unacceptable. But you know, golf has been waiting for a player like this. A colorful, emotional, working-class hero.
I will not tolerate behavior like this. Gilmore is gone.
I just got a call from the Dallas Open. Their phones have been ringing off the hook with people who want to see Happy. They just sold out.
Already?
I know, he's a little rough around the edges, but let me work with him.
Okay, fine. But he's your responsibility. If he cleans up his act, he can stay. If he doesn't, it's your head. And any more of this, and he's gone.
The biggest film of 96. Come on, it was the true blockbuster.
No, but before you start, like, Happy Gilmore is a brilliant pick, I must say.
Fantastic film.
And I guess, like, when we looked through all the films from 1996, I mean, what was it about Happy Gilmore that made you want to choose this film?
I think this was kind of product in its time that it's probably around this time I was discovering a lot of these more kind of, I won't say adult, but, you know, slightly more grown up comedies, grosser kind of stuff. There's certain actors I was starting to kind of, you know, somewhat appreciate the works of. Obviously Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey. I think you just, when you're a kid growing up, you kind of just mostly led by, you know, big special effects films, you know, dinosaurs and aliens, you know, Jurassic Parks or Independence Days. It was saying about this, yeah, it felt a bit more grown up, and, you know, it tickled my funny bone, so I'm all for it. But Adam Sandler, he is someone I've never always been massively enamored with. I've never really even much cared for the people he surrounds himself with. David Spade can be hit and miss. I do not care for Ben Stiller whatsoever. Will Sasso, fantastic. But yeah, Adam Sandler, he's just so fantastic in this film. And I think, like a lot of the best comedies, like the likes of Dumb and Dumber, it's got a lot of good heart to it. You know, it can kind of be, the heart can kind of almost be a bit cynical in a way and a bit of a piss take, but it still has a nice little emotional character journey. I mean, he plays, you know, your archetype Adam Sandler character, where he is kind of that down on his luck. lovable loser who has a bit of an aggressive streak. It's just like every Adam Sandler film from Little Nicky. Yeah, it's just like which I hated Little Nicky with passion because it was like character is not his forte. He should just stick to playing himself, tuned up to 11.
Yeah, I mean Adam Sandler at this point and for the next few years going forward. I mean, most of his films hit the mark. You kind of knew what you was getting with Adam Sandler films.
Yeah.
But, you know, Little Nicky is, like you say, one to forget. And I even like The Waterboy. I thought The Waterboy was quite funny. Yeah. But then obviously, like, he went off and started doing really, really random stuff. And now he's like the Netflix boy.
Yeah. I've heard there's a lot of love for like Hubie Halloween and stuff like that, but I still haven't watched any of his Netflix stuff.
Uncut Gems is a fantastic film. Yeah, he's so good in that. But yeah,
and that point makes you think like, you know, under all this is a really good actor.
I was like, as much as I loved Uncut Gems, I was pissed off at him. I was like, you could be doing this for so much longer. It was like, why are you doing this now? Like, the guy literally should have got an Oscar nom for that film. I'm not even taking the piss. It's like, dude.
Yeah, but he spent years churning out things like Jack and Jill and like, and I'd never seen the film that he went straight, didn't he? And he did this real
Punch Drunk Love. The Paul
was it
Thomas
that
Anderson one
where he lost all of everything in 9/11?
Yeah, it's Punch Drunk
Love.
And
he lost his wife and everything, and it's just I still haven't seen it. I keep meaning to see it. Everyone keeps telling me to, and I still haven't.
But going back to these kind of times with Adam Sandler, and this was for me my first experience of him and what he kind of brought to a film. I know we had Billy Madison the year before, but that just completely passed me by. And my friend introduced me to this film, and a lover of this film ever since. I
think what's worked for me it's the simplicity of the story. It's a classic sports film as well. You know, it's got a nice basic character journey. The guy who's not experienced in the sport that he's being apparently destined to participate in, you know, goes into the big tournament, has an adversary that he overcomes, you know, he improves upon himself and he beats the rival and he gets the girl and he, you know, saves his grandmother. It just hits all the little beats that you just want. It's simple and it's got warmth and it's just.
I just love the fact that he's like wants to be an ice hockey player and he's just crap at it.
Yeah,
literally can't even skate.
His heart's in it, but he can't do it.
Yeah,
and he just on the offshoot of his grandma's house being ripped apart because she can't afford to pay the bills anymore, and then like the removal men want him to like whack this golf ball, and like he whacks it 450 yards.
Oh, that seems so good.
But it's just the way that they came up with his stand and the way he runs up and then just kind of whacks it.
Yeah, it's just giving a hockey player a golf club, isn't it? And I'd never heard of this film, and me and Rich were at school, and he said to me, "Have you seen this film, Happy Gilmore?" And I remember it because we sat in graphics class, and I was like, "What the fuck is Happy Gilmore?" Now I knew of Adam Sandler, we all did, but I'd never seen this film or heard from it. And I think you lent me the VHS or something. I can't remember. And I remember sitting there for an hour and a half. I was grinning. I was like, "What the fuck just happened to me here?" Like, I'm watching this guy who's a hockey player at heart, but playing golf, and it's rags to riches story where he's like, "I want to teach you golf." What?
You've even got the mental figure in Carl Weathers as well.
Yeah, like Carl Weathers.
It does Rocky. Yeah. It's just so fantastic.
Yeah.
Chub.
With an artificial wooden hand that gets run over numerous times.
Oh, that scene where he's like gluing his fingers back on again.
It's just madcap comedy, but like Rich said, it's got so much heart, and I'd never seen it. I remember me and my brother sat and watched it that one night, and we're like, "This shit's amazing! Like, how have we not seen this? Like, how has it got to like 1999 and we haven't seen this film yet?" And we loved it. We loved it.
There's so many lines in it and just moments that are just so memorable. And that's the best comedies for me, whether it's like Dumb and Dumber, Spinal Taps. It just has things that just stick in your head.
Yeah.
Like, just, Mister.
Oh.
So, here, take this. He's like chucking like
And
burgers.
what does he says later on? It's like, and you tell that Mister lady. It's like, it's
He,
like,
pins her down with the air conditioning unit.
yeah. And it's just like, I eat pieces of
Get
shit
off
like
me.
you for breakfast.
You eat
pieces of
shit?
shit for breakfast? No.
And Richard Kill in
Oh,
this.
Richard Kill, yeah.
It is
Oh.
better than anything he ever did with Jaws in the Bond films. Like,
Oh, she's
struck my
fantastic.
foot.
Yeah.
And the guy, I forget the actor's name who plays Shooter McGavin, but it's just that reveal of obviously Richard Kill plays like Happy's boss back in the day when he's working on like a
Yeah.
construction site.
What, he shoots with a nail gun and he's still got the nail in his head.
Yeah.
It's like,
You can hardly notice it. It's just that weird like smile, but then kind of a bit of bemusement. But it's the reveal of him in the crowd when Shooter McGavin is teeing off, and he just looks around. He's like, "Oh my god!" It's just like, he just like tries to just get away from him because he's so just like this grotesquely freakish,
the
massive
falls on
man.
his foot, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
I think
struck my
Richard
foot.
Gill clocked in at like 7'4" or something like that.
Yeah, he's so good, man. He's so good in this film.
And like, the crazy golf scene where he has to keep his anger under control.
Oh, the clown.
He's supposed to
That was
beat
cool,
everybody
wasn't
up. He's like, "Oh yeah, you're laughing, you're happy, you're laughing." He's just like beating sharp. And then the thing that got me was it was the custom putter that was made like a
Yeah, it's
hockey
modified hockey
hockey
stick.
stick. It's just like, what's going on? But again, I think what sold a lot of the humour was the actors they got on board for it, like they did with Airplane and The Naked Gun.
Straight.
They were known for straight stuff, and then they were delivering these absurd lines with such straight, like, faces, and it's just like it made it funnier.
Yeah.
Because I think the
Totally
guy who
agree.
played Shooter McGavin, he's been in everything.
So
Like
good.
Star Trek, he's done Quantum Leap, he's done The West Wing, and it's just like, and then he plays this douchebag of a golfer, like pro golfer. Yeah,
I think, yeah, I mean, and this film does have one of the best fight scenes ever.
Bob Barker, isn't it?
Yeah.
Price is wrong, bitch.
I'm going to show you, Mr. Candy Ass.
So good. And they seem to emphasize on the punch sounds as well and the kicks.
It has some hearty punches. It's just, it's just like watching Happy's journey through the film and see. It's one of those things that's really satisfying because seeing how he impacts the game of golf as well. And you're seeing like the Pepsi Pro-Am. It's just like it's a Pepsi sponsored golfing, which probably isn't like crazy now because we're in the age of, you know, we're post Tiger Woods. It's got more popularized. It's probably a bit more, you know, down with the kids to a degree, but you're seeing how the game is impacted by Happy's presence, and even looking at how, like, you know, the whole attitudes to, like, you know, class and stuff, and the kind of people that start attending the golf tournaments. It's just really fun to watch, and they're not even jokes; they're just part of, you know, the story. It's just, I love that kind of stuff.
Because when I watched it the other night, there was a throwaway line about the sponsorship tournament.
Yeah.
I think each day had like a different major sponsor, and one of them was Subway, and the other one was Pepsi. And I remember sitting there going, like, I don't remember being this obsessed with all the details as I am now watching it in my 30s, going like, what? Like, it's everywhere. Banners, T-shirts. Like golf caddy bags and stuff like that. It's got all these blazing logos on it. Yeah, I can't believe it took me that long to discover this film.
It's such a good film. It really
Happy
is.
learned how to putt.
And
that's why I love it. Well, you see that cutaway scene where Shooter's going, like, trying to crack Happy's secret, isn't he? Like, in amongst the trees, he's trying to run up and hit the ball like he does to try and work out.
Still loves the guy that, like, Shooter McGavin, like, employs to try and throw Happy off you. Yeah, jackass.
That greasy slime ball of a guy. Like, He sets up.
Every time, every line of dialogue just ends like the way. It's the best enunciation of jackass I've ever heard in any film or TV show.
But I quite appreciated the little things that they did in this film just to make it that more authentic. Like they got commentators in that sounded just like it would if he was watching American Golf.
Even music, like the music it plays, because it is literally like, it sounds funny now, but like I'm thinking of PGA Tour Golf 2 on the Mega Drive, and the music that would play as during the flyovers of the courses. I'm like, holy shit, this music is very reminiscent of that game. So now I'm realizing, okay, the game is doing a good job of replicating the actual music used to get in golf coverage in the early 90s. And I'm like, that was one of the weird things I joined the dots between. So yeah, it does a really great job. Like as an actual golfing film. I'm not going to pretend it's, fucking Tin Cup or anything, but it's
no, not at all. But it immerses you a little bit into the film and what they're trying to portray a little bit.
Exactly.
And it helps with Happy being happy, because it makes him it shows him being outrageous more so because he's in. They've created this golfing world so well and so authentic, and then there's his Happy beating the shit out of an inflatable ball or whatever it was. I can't remember now, but and I think the other thing I quite appreciated about it was the way that he holds his putter, because he still holds it like a hockey stick.
Yeah. He's all very bent over, straight shoulders, just kind of like hunched over.
One hand further down than the other hand, and like you could see he's trying to use it as a
Watching his putting game, it's like one of those things. Sometimes it's like that kind of comedy where it makes it really hard to watch because it's so awkward. But like when you're watching him putt for the first time, it is one of those horrible things because you feel for him. It's horrible. So watching it get worse and worse in the crowd and then the commentators, and it kind of shows you kind of care about him because you're embarrassed for him. It's that cringe comedy, and it's like that. That's when you know a film is working, because you're actually invested in it, even the stuff that's uncomfortable to watch. It's just a really, really great film. I really love it, and it was an absolute treat watching it again the other day. And it really holds up. It's not one of these things that's like, oh, you know what? It's not as good as I remember. No, just I was on the train, laughing my ass off. I suck my white ass, ball. It was like, you're too good for your home. Go home. It was like,
it's your home ball. But yeah,
fantastic.
Even just the pieces, like when he's in the baseball pen and like he's just got balls.
Just toughening myself up.
What the hell, man? What are you doing?
Cole Weathers so good in this film. My God, he's so good
even his death scene was quality, because like Happy gets the crocodile head and wraps up, and like it makes him go out the window, and like Happy runs to the window, and all you hear his hand fall on the floor. You hear the little chink chink chink.
I love the guy that's there as well, who appears in the other scenes, looking up, shaking his head like, he's gone. He's gone. Oh man! Oh God, it's so good. Yeah, Cole Weathers is so fantastic.
Yeah,
he was really good. The tournament. You know why? Is it because you're black? He was like, no, I lost my damn hand. It's so fantastic. Gator took it. So good. Oh my God.
Brilliant.
I love the end as well when they're at Grandma's. No spoilers, but they get Grandma's house back, and you see him in the clouds, like the ghost of him, or the spirit of him. Waving, and the alligator and Abraham Lincoln. It's so good. He's got his arm around the alligator. He's just like, it's an absurdist comedy. I love it. So,
but anyway, Christopher McDonald declined the role of Shooter McGavin twice because he was tired of playing villains and wanted to spend more time with his family. Kevin Costner was approached but turned it down in favour of another 96 golf-themed comedy, Tin Cup, while Bruce Campbell lobbied hard for the part.
It's been too much, I think. I love Bruce Campbell, but it would have been a bit much. I think Shooter McGavin was that he just had more kind of just antagonising douchebag about him. I think you'd probably end up liking Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, probably.
It just doesn't work. So, but yeah. Oh, wow, that's amazing. I didn't realise that.
McDonald became interested in the role after winning a round of golf and decided to take it after he met with Sandler. According to McDonald, Dugan didn't want to see the bad guy 101 again and gave McDonald the freedom to improvise on set. The Happy Gilmore character is loosely based on Sandler's childhood friend Kyle McDonnell, who played ice hockey and would golf with Sandler as they grew up. Sandler could never hit the ball as far as McDougall, I don't know how you're saying his name, but that's how I'm saying it, and figured that McDougall's hockey skills gave him an edge. Meanwhile, Chubbs Peterson's missing hand is an in-joke reference in actor Coles Weathers' film Predator.
Oh, God.
That's an obscure reference.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've never pieced that together.
Oh,
There
shit.
you go.
I never connected those dots.
No.
Oh, crap. Wow. That's amazing. Fantastic.
Happy Gilmore's got an IMDb rating of 7 out of 10, made on a budget of $12 million. It took a gross worldwide of 41 million. Well, on to my pick of 1996. And the film I'm talking about is The Rock.
General, it's him.
Frank, Sal Kramer.
Hi, Al. How you doing?
I don't know, Frank. Why don't you tell me? Got a lot of very, very worried people here, Frank.
I'll come straight to the point. 83 Force Reconnaissance Marines have died under my various commands. 47 in northern Laos and southern China.
Southern China? We never admitted we send troops into China.
Who is this? Identify yourself.
White House Chief of Staff Hayden Sinclair, General.
How old are you, Chief of Staff Sinclair?
I'm 33.
Well, Mr. Sinclair, you've probably got no fucking idea what I'm talking about. By your 9th birthday, I was running black ops into China. My men were responsible for over 200 enemy kills. Now put some rigging tape over Mr. Sinclair's mouth. He's wasting my time.
You want to continue, Frank?
Remember Operation Desert Storm? Those surgical hits made by our smart bombs covered so well on CNN? It was my men on the ground that made those hits possible by lasing the targets. 20 of them were left to rot outside Baghdad after the conflict ended. No benefits were paid to their families. No medals conferred. These men died for their country and they weren't even given a goddamn military burial. The situation is unacceptable. You will transfer $100 million from the Grand Cayman Red Sea Trading Company account to an account I designate. From these funds, reparations of $1 million will be paid to each of the 83 Marines' families. The rest of the funds I will disperse at my discretion. Do I make myself clear? You alert the media, I launch the gas. You refuse payment, I launch the gas. You've got 40 hours till noon, day after tomorrow, to arrange transfer of the money. I am aware of your countermeasure. You know, and I know it doesn't stand a chance. Hummel from Alcatraz, out.
I mean, the time that The Rock came out was quite an interesting time in films for me. I was enjoying films like Fargo, From Dusk Till Dawn, to films like Independence Day and Happy Gilmore. But then there were these kind of films being made by Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson. And I look back to the previous year's film with Bad Boys. Their filmmaking was different, wasn't it? I don't know, like the way they shot some of the scenes, like very quick shots and very fast and different angles of the camera that I'd never really seen in a film before. And they did that quite a lot in Bad Boys, and they carried us over to The Rock.
I mean, it was all very much the Michael Bay effect, wasn't it, really? I mean, I hadn't watched this film until you said that you were choosing it for this episode.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those films that's like, I know I've always meant to watch it.
Wait, so you've never watched The Rock?
No.
This is interesting then.
This is crazy because it's like Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage, you know, what's not to really love about it?
I've seen it more than most films, and like, I think mainly due to the whole Sean Connery connection, but yeah, it's just like you said, Jason, it was different from a lot of the films where it was like the ADHD version of an action movie.
Yeah.
And it's just like set piece after set piece after set piece after set piece. And it works.
Yeah. And
it's just, with The Rock, I remember watching it, and as a kid, I was like, this is amazing. As I watch it as an adult, obviously you can see the flaws and the narrative structure kind of like is all over the shit show. But it's entertaining. Mm-hmm. And that's the first and only thing it should be, is entertaining for 2 hours of your time. And it does fill that gap.
Yeah.
Sean Connery is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And Nicolas Cage is great. And what I like about a film like this is you can see when the actors are loving the material that they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can see that life behind their eyes and that buzz in their character. It's and it comes off the screen at you. They're not sleepwalking through the film. They're loving the material. Yes, but it's quite a deep subject matter. This guy who escapes from Alcatraz, and then brought in by the FBI to get back in.
Yeah, when you
never been done before. And
no, when I thought back about the actual plot of the film, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
and they have a lot to set up. And this is a 2-hour film, so I mean it's not overly long for a film, I guess, average time. But I mean, for what they did and the way that they set up the characters and the story and everything else, I hold my hand up and say that they did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you think about it, like you say, Chris, with the actual plot of the film, where you've got this brigadier American soldier who's decided he's had enough of the American government and not recognizing soldiers who have died in like hidden operations, like things that not a lot of people know about, and the families not getting like the financial benefits of their family members dying. So he takes it into his own hands and gets these like missiles with this like weird chemical things inside and takes over Alcatraz of all places. It's inspired. I mean, what a great place to like.
It's one of those things
take
that you
over.
think to yourself, like, who sat there and thought and looked at a picture of Alcatraz and went, "Huh, a ransom hostage story with a disgruntled military man." But not only that, we'll draft in someone who escaped from Alcatraz, a fictional person who escaped from Alcatraz to break into Alcatraz to stop these people. And it's just batshit crazy. And you think to yourself, who sat there and came up? It's insane.
No.
It is, when you look at it on paper, it's fucking ridiculous.
But
it works. And it's so unique because it never really been done before, unless I'm missing something somewhere. But
I mean, I think was one of the big things I probably never watched this is I won't lie, I never really actively sought out Michael Bay films, but like what I came away and what I loved about this film was fucking Michael Bay. He's a pain in the ass, that guy, is that I kind of detest him, but goddamn, he knows how to make a film. He knows how to put out a product.
Yeah.
And it never falters, it never drags.
Nope.
Every scene has purpose. It looks good.
It cuts through the crap.
It's got snappiness to the dialogue without being like quippy. It's just, it just gets you from A to B. It doesn't piss around, but it doesn't sacrifice actual things that matter. It makes you give a crap about a character or characters.
No.
Yeah, he's so frustrating. Because I just had a really good time watching this film.
It's funny with Michael Bay
him,
films. You sit there watching them and you're like, I'm really enjoying this, but part of me's telling me I really shouldn't be enjoying it. But
yeah,
I've loved films like The Rock for years. And Michael Bay films is like a movie visual version of a Rube Goldberg machine.
Okay.
Where it's cause and effect over and over and over again. Where it's like a ball would hit a piece of wood and the piece of wood would hit a feather that would float down and knock another feather onto a ball and knock a bottle over, and then the bottle would roll. And a Rube Goldberg machine is perfect for a Michael Bay movie because that's what happens.
Yeah.
It's explosion, explosion, which leads to another thing, which leads to another thing, which leads to yet another thing. And then peppered in between it are these beautiful moments, like with Sean Connery's character and his daughter.
You read tender stuff.
There are so many different plot points going on, but it never gets boring and it never seems overblown or bloated.
Confusing.
It's just this weird, perfect balance of a 90s movie that just works.
I never get that with Michael Bay again, because it's just like one of those things. It's like you think of him as the slightly douchey, make things blow up guy, but you go back to the scene with Sean Connery and was it Claire Filani, wasn't it? Who plays his daughter. And you you feel the emotion in it. Like, I don't know if it's more just a credit to the writers or the actors or the way it's shot, but it never feels tacked on. It actually feels like, it's actually got some substance to it. It's very short-lived, but it's actually kind of sitting with me. And there's the bit at the end as well, like when was it Mason, wasn't it? Sean Connery's character and Nicolas Cage's characters, they like part ways. And it's quite nice, just the dialogue. Yeah. Like how Mason thanks him at the end and leaves him a little note about the location to go to. And I was like, this is really, really, really nice character stuff.
Yeah.
And fair enough to Michael Bay. End of the day, there are other people at play that make that work. But as a director, he could easily just suck the life out of those scenes by shooting it in a certain way or saying he doesn't want them in there entirely. So we give him a lot of shit, but he does know how to make films outside of the explosions.
Yeah, they're just solid scenes, and to get Sean Connery as well, like compared to Sean Connery, people like Nicolas Cage was a rookie, was a baby of an actor, and Sean Connery turns up and he's got his beautiful like silver fox wig hairpiece, and it's like that dude looks stunning in this film. Yeah. And he plays it with so much conviction, and you believe it. He's not sleepwalking through this film. And the scene with
his character as well is inspired again. Like, we've got this hostage situation on Alcatraz. What do we do? How do we stop this? Oh, let's get this dude that's been imprisoned that nobody knows exists, who is the only person who has escaped Alcatraz.
Yeah, and can get us in undetected.
Help us break into Alcatraz. Yeah. I mean, it's just fucking inspired. Yeah. It's just amazing.
And I love the alternate universe people that are like, he was captured in 1962. And all these people are like, their alternate James Bond history. And it's just like, it's quite a cool concept when you think it through.
Yeah.
Like ex-British services and...
Yeah.
And there's actually someone did a video on YouTube about it. Like, what if this was James Bond character that was incarcerated? And then he comes back, and it's like, if you look at The Rock as an unofficial James Bond future sequel again, and it's just like, no, that's just too far. Just stop trying to make stuff fit into things again. But The Rock, it just works beautifully, and Nicolas Cage playing against type as a chemical engineer and constantly shouting his way through the film. But I did notice, watching it now at this age, at how exposition heavy each scene is.
Yeah,
I was quite shocked because I don't remember it being that way. It's always like, oh, they're shooting at us. There they are. They're right over there, and it's very exposition heavy. But all the set pieces are beautifully shot, and it plays really well. I really enjoyed it, and I don't think I've seen it for probably about 5 or 10 years, up until 3 days ago.
I mean, after obviously, Jason, you picking this and me watching it before we recorded this, like I'll probably watch it again in the next week or two. Yeah, because I had a really fun time with it, and I want to kind of watch it properly and just chill with it and not think about getting it in. So I can talk about it because I just had a great time. So
but that's the thing with Michael Bay movies; like you don't have to think about them; they just there, and you roll with it, and it's just like they just work on so many levels, and. This
really
film,
nice,
especially,
really nice Zimmer score as well.
It's quite early on in his career as well.
You can tell that, but there's some stuff.
It's a collab, isn't it? Between who was the other composer?
At first, some of the stuff really sounded like Steve Jablonsky, who did like Transformers.
Yeah,
like at the start, I was like, "This is Steve Jablonsky. It has to be." But it was really like the Optimus Prime theme.
Yeah,
that kind of.
But again,
it was like
what's weird with Steve Jablonsky is he started doing television in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah,
he scored, I think, was it Desperate Housewives and
he's
Sex
really
and the
good.
City and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, I see his name come up on a Transformers movie, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That's the name I see on my wife's TV shows. Like, and it's a solid score by him in Transformers. It's stunning.
Yeah, I really thought he was doing The Rock, and then literally I was watching the opening credits. I was like, "Oh, okay, it's Zimmer. Fair enough."
It's like the car chase through San Francisco.
Oh, so good with the tram and stuff.
It's just like
really
it's
good.
perfect balance of comic relief with the tram driver, and it's his beautiful baby that is being destroyed, and it's just again a Rube Goldberg machine of destruction.
Yeah.
dude, you totally wrecked your Ferrari.
I mean,
it wasn't mine. In that sort of proper Nicolas Cage crap.
I mean, there was still some of the things, I won't lie. Like, I've obviously kind of praised up Michael Bay a little bit with this, but there were still some of the things. I'm like, even early on, I was like, there was the Michael Bay shit in it, like the tendency to have overly shouty, black characters with dialogue, and like overly camp hairdresser as well, who only cared about if Mason was happy with his haircut, despite a guy having seemingly been thrown off a balcony. It's those character archetypes that like Michael Bay likes to do. A little bit stereotypical, a little bit, don't know. But
how badass was Sean Connery delivering those moves? You actually could believe he was an ex-SAS Special Forces guy.
Really cool. Really
the way
cool.
he held himself, and so convincing, and much love for the late John Spencer as well.
Dr. Cox was in this film as well.
And John Simagin, And
Oh yeah. Seen him in real life.
Seen who in real life?
Michael Biehn.
Oh, Michael Biehn. That was a Comic-Con we went to, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
We sat on his table with no queue of people. Like Corporal Hicks, you poor man.
Good looking dude back in the day, not so much now.
I think you mentioned earlier about the characterization in the film, which is something I really appreciated earlier, Rich, and because a lot of these films are guilty of like it's all about the action, it's all about the high octane scenes and everything else, and I think I really appreciated in this film how they worked on the characters and gave them some backstory. Even the end of the film, a lot of the time, and Die Hard's kind of a good example of this. Like the threat has been neutralized, everything's good, everything's happy, and the film just ends.
Yeah,
you kind of don't get the closure, and I felt like The Rock gave me some closure from the ending. You got to see the two main characters have a scene together about what they've just experienced, and it just gives you a bit of closure to the characters, and that's just something I quite appreciated about it.
You almost feel like Michael Bay was almost kind of more mature early on to his career. Like he kind of over time kind of maybe fell back into the the excesses, getting bigger budgets and just churning stuff out. Whereas this, I think this afforded time more to the story and the characters, like you said.
That's interesting you bring up about characterization, because at the end, literally all the guys who are holding Alcatraz and the tourists hostage all killed each other.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a nice touch, and I remember watching that originally when I was a kid or a teenager, and I was just like, that's really powerful, because like the whole Indiana Jones theory where he doesn't do anything to impact the whole film as a whole, it will still unfold perfectly without him. This same thing happened. Ed Harris's character went too far, and his subordinates called it the BS, cut through the shit, and was like, you've gone too far now. They all fell out, all put guns on each other, and one false move, and they all shot each other, basically. And it's just like, it's one of those simulations of how futile war is. If you just talk about it, if you just don't go too far, this won't happen.
Yeah.
And it was only the fact that the Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery were shooting at them because they were shooting at them. And it's just, it was crazy. Because I just remember being sort of more world weary as I am now, seeing it with a more broader sense. Maybe I'm reading too far into it.
No, not at all.
No, I don't think you are. I don't think you are. I mean, it was... I kind of forgotten that happened in the film. So when I rewatched it back last week, seeing that scene and where they turn on each other, and the Frank, the bad dude, he'd had a change of heart. He came out and said, "Oh, I'm just bluffing. I'm just trying to get the money out of the government, and I wasn't really going to do it." And you get that scene. It is a powerful scene. It's and it's tense. It's tense, and like you're just glued to the TV. Like what's going to happen? I mean, like we've seen them in films before. These kind of scenes, where they've all got guns pointed at each other's heads and the threat of just killing everybody. But I don't know, there was just something about this scene in this film that made it different to the rest. And yet with the characterization and everything else that they brought in this film, you know, and it's dubbed as just like a stupid American action film, I think. You know, people look at The Rock and that's probably what they see. But there's just so much more going on under the hood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And all the characters, they get their redemption at the end of it.
Yeah. I got that for one viewing. I picked up on it straight away. And I did. I honestly went in thinking, oh, yeah, Michael Bay film. I've heard good things about it. But Michael Bay film, whatever. Probably will enjoy it. But yeah, it had way more, like you said, just going on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it needs more credit than it, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it gets.
Maybe Michael Bay is the reason why it doesn't. I don't know. It's kind of where he works against his own films because he has a reputation.
Maybe people look at it these days and go, oh, God, Michael Bay, no thanks.
Yeah, it's just another explodey popcorn flick.
Yeah,
But again, you even think about it's not like The Rock even stood on its own. You think about even what he did with like Armageddon, like with the whole, even with character stuff there with Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck. You got the whole Aerosmith song. It's like he's giving it some heart. Yeah. You can say it's cheesy, but it's got emotion to it. Pearl Harbor. You know, it's doing stuff other than just being dumb. You wouldn't get that. It was like we go back to Independence Day. You never got that with Roland Emmerich. You do character stuff, but it always felt like it was just serving
shoehorned
reaction and just we're gonna give these characters stories so you give a shit, but we don't really give a shit. We're just gonna make stuff blow up and have action scenes whereas some of the early Michael Bay stuff, it felt more genuine.
Yeah.
And it makes me feel sick to say that, but it does. It really does. It resonates. It makes you can't force a feeling. It's there in my head. I'm caring about fucking Kate Beckinsale and Ben Affleck. I'm caring about Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck. I'm caring about the lovely Claire Filani and Sean Connery.
It's just that beautiful. That scene just was beautiful to me when like
Zoo or something, wasn't it? Where was she at? Yeah.
And it was like, oh, have you been let out? And he kind of doesn't answer. And then all of a sudden the sirens appear.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've escaped again, haven't you? And it's just one of those scenes where he gets his freedom. And finally, at the end, and he gives Stanley the location for the spoiler warning, the secret to who shot JFK. And so Stanley gets his redemption. Mason gets his redemption. The FBI agents who are looking for him get their redemption because he's dead, according to them.
Vaporized.
That can happen. And I love seeing John Spencer in this role as Womack, the FBI director, because John Spencer's just was a beautiful human being. And if you look at interviews, because he was a big part of the West Wing for 6 seasons, and then he died prematurely, but there's an interview done with all the cast on the West Wing, and all of them tear up as to how kind that guy was and how professional. And it's such a pleasure to see that guy turn up and ham up this like brutal bureaucratic FBI director who's so stuck in bureaucracy that he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing it because he does it, and that's how perfect John Spencer is. And he was taken way too soon, and it was just such a delight to see him in this film.
In the original UK DVD release, the scene in which Connery throws a knife through Scarpetti's throat and says, "You must never hesitate," to Cage was cut, although the scene was shown on British television. Consequently, a later scene in which Connery says to Cage, "I'd rather glad you didn't hesitate too long," lost its impact on viewers who had not seen the first scene. But there was some other cuts included, with the reduction of multiple gunshot impacts into Gamble's feet in the morgue down to a single hit. A close-up of his screaming face as the air conditioner falls onto him, a sound cut to Mason snapping a Marine's neck, and 2 bloody gunshot wounds to Hummel and Baxter, both near the end of the film, were all cut. I'm quite glad we live in a world that films aren't as cut as that these days.
Yeah. Agreed.
It's just unnecessary nanny state.
Yeah.
Censoring. It's just like... Films are made and edited for a reason.
Yeah.
when you change
It loses
that edit,
impact.
it loses the director's vision and the editor's vision, and yeah, things get lost and missed, and then they wonder why certain things don't make any sense because you cut it to pieces.
Los Angeles-based British screenwriter team Dick Clement and Ian Lafrenius were brought in at Connery's request to rewrite his lines, but ended up altering much of the film's dialogue. It was Nicolas Cage's idea that his character would not swear. His euphemisms included "gee whiz," which was quite interesting as well, because I didn't really realise when I watched the film back that, Goodyear didn't really swear at all, did he? So
No.
And he was quite corny in some of his lines, like "gee whiz," and I think there was a scene where he put a gun to Mason and he was like, "Hold it, sucker," or something along those lines.
I remember seeing that and I was just like, what's this, the 80s?
Exactly. The Rock has a rating of 7.4 on IMDb. It was made with a budget of $75 million and took $335 million worldwide.
Wow.
Big one, big hitter. But not to make the UK top 10, apparently. So,
yeah, I was going to say, damn. Okay.
Let's move on to our last film of the episode. And Chris, what film have you chosen?
It is Star Trek First Contact.
6 years ago, they assimilated me into their collective. I had their cybernetic devices implanted throughout my body. I was linked to the hive mind. Every trace of individuality erased. I was one of them. So you can imagine, my dear, I have a somewhat unique perspective on the Borg, and I know how to fight them. Now, if you will excuse me, I have work to do.
I'm such an idiot. It's so simple. The Borg hurt you, and now you're going to hurt them back.
In my century, we don't succumb to revenge. We have a more evolved sensibility.
Bullshit! I saw the look on your face when you shot those Borg on the holodeck. You were almost enjoying it.
How dare you?
Oh, come on, Captain. You're not the first man to get a thrill from murdering someone. I see it all the time.
Get out!
Or what? You'll kill me? Like you killed Ensign Lynch?
There was no way to save him.
You didn't even try. Where was your evolved sensibility then?
I don't have time for this.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
What?
You do have books in the 24th century.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity!
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! No! I will not sacrifice the Enterprise. We've made too many compromises already, too many retreats. They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here! This far, no farther! And I will make them pay for what they've done!
Very nice. No one else could see that, but he held up his Star Trek mug as he announced his film.
I couldn't resist that. First time rolling with the cameras, it'll be on point.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, a Star Trek film has come out this year, so obviously he was going to choose it. Would you say this is the best next-gen film that they made?
Oh, by a country mile. It's sublime. I must watch this at least twice every year. And it just gets better and better. And even now with a 4K TV, it's just even like, fucking hell, this is insane. The attention to detail and the way Jonathan Frakes shot that film, just perfect. It's just perfect. And it came along in a time in my life where I needed that kind of thing. And I think it was my first Star Trek film. I didn't see Generations in the cinema. Instead, I think I did. But I remember finding Star Trek sometime in the early 90s. and going, I like this world. I like this universe. And I was
It's
just
a
like,
pretty good world.
yeah, I was like, this is a proper escapist thing. And yes, in the 90s, Star Trek Kids wasn't cool. And I was one of those people. And I saw First Contact. And at the time, the Borg had only been in 3 episodes. Voyager had been on the air for not even a year. DS9 had never dealt with the Borg, I don't believe. I think they were mentioned. So Next Gen come along. How can we do our second movie but better? And they did it. They brought the Borg in, who weren't destroyed at this point. They weren't this watered down villain of the week that Voyager turned them into. And they go from this really ropey 1980s, 90s leotard with machine parts stuck to them to this really thought out, disgusting, gungy looking cybernetic monsters, basically zombies, basically Star Trek zombies, and it looks stunning. And I remember going to cinema to see it, and I was completely blown away. They changed everything, the uniforms. We had a new ship. Jonathan Frakes was directing, and it was just like, wait, the guy who played Riker's directing a film, and it turns out that it was stunning. It was honestly like
before Thunderbirds.
Yeah, before Thunderbirds. I remember this local cinema had a massive cardboard board cube with LEDs flashing all over it.
Nice.
And I remember going in as a kid going like, this is amazing. Well, not a kid. I was, 11, maybe nearly 12. And obviously I'd watched Next Gen on TV. And by the time Generations came out, this is the most absurd thing. 1996 is Star Trek at the height of its powers in the 90s. It was ridiculous. We're only, at this point, only 5 years away from Star Trek Enterprise, which when you put it together, during that time, I was like, Star Trek First Contact was years ago when Enterprise came out, and I was like, actually, no, it was only 5 years before. So, in the space of 1987 to 1996, that's 9 years. We had 7 seasons of Next Gen, the first Next Gen movie and the second Next Gen movie in 9 years.
That's scary.
And you're thinking you're looking at 22 episodes per season. So, yeah, that's a lot of stuff that they pushed out. So, 1996, it was Star Trek's 30th year. So, you had First Contact coming out, and DS9 did their Trials and Tribulations episode where they went back into the original series, which still holds up today. It is a stunning piece of work. It is beautifully done on green screen, and they're perfectly blended in. Voyager did their 30th anniversary with Flashback, where George Takei came back, and it was all taking place in one of Janeway's officers' minds during a mind meld as part of his previous Starfleet career. Star Trek was like the golden age. We're now experiencing, I think, the second golden age where we have so much stuff coming out now. But then this new movie comes out, directed by Jonathan Frakes, and you're like, when I saw the trailers, I remember going like, whoa, what? A second movie is coming out. And they filmed Generations at the tail end of Next Gen. So that's how they could push that film out. So they had all the sets, they just modified them for Generations. This was all new. New everything. They reused some of the sets, but they obviously redressed them quite considerably. But the Enterprise from Next Generation was designed for a 4x3 square, which is why it's got that tall shape, narrow bottom, and this new ship was built for a cinema screen. It is long, it's flat, and it looks kind of like a pizza cutter. Because it's got that long sleekness, and it's just gorgeous ship, and it just fills that cinema screen. And that money shot of the opening shot where you have the Defiant from DS9, and as a kid I was like, that's Worf, that's the Defiant. Yeah. What is going on? Worf's like, today's a good day to die, let's do a kamikaze run. Ben Wyatt turns around and says, there's another ship coming in, it's the Enterprise. Now, Worf being posted on DS9, and this is the little thing that people don't kind of get. as far as Worf's concerned, he hadn't seen the Enterprise crew for years because he got posted to DS9. So this tiny little ship, and then this money shot of this new Enterprise filling the screen right in front of this tiny weeny Defiant is beautiful. And then the film kicks off from there. They destroy the Borg cube. The Borgs release a sphere and secretly beam over to the Enterprise, open a temporal rift to the past, to assimilate the past, to assimilate the future. It all gets a bit wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey.
Yeah, and I think that's what I really liked about everything that you've already mentioned, but the fact that they go back in time to the point where humans first invent warp drive capabilities, and we get to the chance to meet this character called Zefram Cochrane, who's been referenced before in previous Trek as being that person.
Yeah, he first appeared in an original series episode called Metamorphosis.
Yeah.
But it was glossed over that he invented warp drive. They just accept that he was the inventor of warp drive. There's no exact date given. There's no exact circumstances given. So that in this film, they really flesh it out and kind of start again, really, because they just wanted to fresh start, just recharacterize, just rewrite this history that we don't really know about the past, the future.
Well, like you say there, yeah, because we're in a new world of Star Trek, and Star Trek has gained a lot of new viewers and a lot of new fans, and they may not have had the chance to go back and watch the original show and or learn about this stuff. And I was one of those people. And one of the things I really loved about First Contact was that going back to that time and learning, so this is how humans got warp drive capabilities, and this is how, the alien race that turned out to be Vulcans, obviously, saw that we'd created this warp drive and that we were more advanced than they thought that we were. So they decided to make First Contact, and this is what kickstarts the whole world being different and respecting humans more and getting rid of the money and it turning into the world that is
this
what we know from Star Trek now.
Not so much utopia, but this future world where money and poverty, disease, and conflict will all be gone within 50 to 100 years because humans realise we're not alone. There are more things for us. We can work to better what we are as a species. And that was the beautiful thing, because it humanized Star Trek to a point where instead of taking place entirely on a ship and this future thing with space pajamas and ray guns, it humanizes this universe where it's 100 years or so from present day. But by doing that, setting the film half in the future, in the past, future past, it becomes very contemporary, because you can look at it as it just looks like any normal town in America, or they're dressed like normal people would be dressed like. And that was the point. They wanted to humanize it and split up. We didn't want a whole spaceship thing, so to take place on Earth, but have it feel very contemporary. People drink, people listen to music and have a laugh. And then this fish out of water story where these future people come down and try and convince this guy in the past that you invent warp drive, and they find their ship in orbit and show him on his telescope. And he's convinced it's a trick. He's like, well, no, it's it's his telescope. It's not a trick. That's actually our ship. We are from the future. And it basically plays out from then on there like Die Hard in space. But it's separated because you've got a group on the ship, and then you've got the B plot is when they're trying to make sure this flight goes ahead, because through that temporal rift they can see that the launch didn't take place. So they have to go back and make sure that this launch takes place at this certain window so the Vulcans can pick up that signal and then come to Earth to make first contact. But it's just fleshed out so beautifully. And James Cromwell is a fantastic actor to do this. And he's been in Star Trek numerous times before this. And he was the farmer in Babe, for those people who...
that's what he resonates with me. So
yeah.
Good off,
it was just this beautiful film where you have this drunk guy who's not in it for science. He's in it for just
money.
He just wanted money. He just wanted to use his, physicist knowledge to make this thing to get rich. But the way it's beautifully done is on the commentary they put it as if to say, what if you went back and met your hero and realised that actually he wasn't what people have told you about his past? What if he was a drunk? What if he was a guy who just didn't give a shit about people? But he does deep down. But history bloats things out. People's reputations change. And obviously, they meet this Pete, and there's hero worship, and they scare him off. Because they're like, we're...
Statue.
Yeah, you told him about the statue. And it's just like, this whole place becomes like a national monument, national park, and there's a statue of you there, and there's schools and universities named after you, and then he gets scared.
Mm.
Because he's starting to believe these future people, and then it's like, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be this famous guy. I just want to be me. I want to be who I am and not have to answer to anyone. And all these people from the ship become the people they send down to help him launch. They become infatuated with him. They can't leave him alone. They just want to shake his hand or be with him. And it's like us meeting, like Rich meeting his favourite wrestler, or it's exactly that. You become this blithering wreck. And the perfect version of that is Dwight Schultz's Reginald Barkley when he meets him.
Yeah.
Now, the way Dwight Schultz's character Barkley is done is like the first Star Trek character to be visibly on the autism spectrum. And it's played beautifully because he's like so awkward in social situations, and it's just this gorgeous blend of that. And he just wants to shake his hand, but he's so nervous, and he wants to show him what he can use to repair, and he's just so flustered, and he just wants to shake his hand, and then he just backs off, and he kind of like just goes back to his job. And then up on the ship, you've got Picard battling his personal demons, and then we had the fantastic Borg Queen. And expertly played by Alice Krieger is just like sinister as fuck in this stunningly disgusting, creepy as fuck shot where she's lowered down and it's just her shoulders and her spine into this thing, and then it pulls her skin tight. And when I say Alice Krieger as a villain in a Star Trek movie, just YouTube it. It's just fantastic. And only now did I realise, watching it on a 4K TV, underneath her scalp are small little LEDs and fibre optics flashing underneath her skin.
That's messed up.
I've never noticed that before until I put the Blu-ray in on this TV, and I was just like, even in the cinema, did I not see that? And it adds a different dimension. When you see things going on underneath the skin, it just makes it even more skin-crawlingly creepy. That moment between the Borg Queen and Picard is stunning. That just nuanced creepiness. It's not so much creepiness, it's more like this brooding, bubbling, sinister thing. It's not scary. It's not gross out scary like a Monster of the Year movie. It's really like, it's like a personal demon. Like when he was assimilated back in the show, and it's set up that she was always there. She was always that voice, but never seen, but he knew of her presence. It becomes this personal thing, and then Data decides to just break the engineering, what is it? Antimatter thing, which dissolves organic matter. And just, she dies, and Picard comes down and just snaps her spine. And it's just a lovely scene where he just comes down, and it's almost like part of Picard, when he was assimilated, it's set up that part of Picard loved her, but conditionally, because he was part of their collective. So the way it's set up is he's actually, in a way, killing someone or someone he loved unconditionally so many years ago. You're saying goodbye to that feeling. It's never mentioned, but it's implied quite a lot. But it's just a lot of personal journeys in this film. And it's just done so well. The production is just, it looks beautiful. all the new sets, the costumes, the miniatures, it's just stunning. And but it's just a really enjoyable film. And even if you're not a Star Trek fan, it's worth looking at, because by splitting it up into a contemporary setting and a ship setting, you have a broad audience. People are going to go, oh, what's going on here? It's a Star Trek movie. And then it's just really good. And it's even if you distance yourself from the Star Trek property and just watch it for what it is, as a character study of a group of people trying to stop this thing from happening, it can be transplanted into anything.
First Contact had it all, had the action, had the characterization still, and it gave a lot to the loyal Star Trek fans and gave a lot to people who didn't. So
yeah, and a beautiful score by Joe Goldsmith, who came back for this film. Just really stunning.
Good. And like you say, it was really cool as a Star Trek fan to see the new uniforms, and then see that carry on into Deep Space Nine. And obviously the new ship was really cool to see for the first time. But I think one of my favourite parts, two parts always stick out for me. And one is when they're just about to attack the Borg for the first time, and Picard turns around to Data and says, I think it's probably a good time to deactivate your motion chip. And then he just moves his head and goes,
in a corridor, wasn't it? I believe I'm experiencing
and he
anxiety.
Goes,
maybe you should deactivate your emotion chip. And it's just, I'd forgotten about that scene actually until just now.
And then he, Picard goes, sometimes I envy you, Data,
Just turn your emotions off and,
And I think the other scene was obviously where the Borg are trying to break into the sick bay, and then Crusher decides to
use the
EHO, and then Robert Picardo turns up in First Contact as the, and it was just quality just to see him in the film, and just to see that that scene. It was just really cool.
It just works for comedy value, because Robert Picardo is just a legend, and it's just like, and she even says, doesn't she, I swear I never ever use one of these things. Computer, activate EMH. And then he just appears. Please state the nature of the medical
emergency. Yeah.
It was 20 Borg are about to break through that door. You need to hold them back. We need to escape. And he just, and again, because he just goes, I'm a doctor, not a doorstop. And he's just like,
just perfect.
It's really perfect. Yeah. To seeing Robert Picardo play another version of the EMH, but on a different ship. So, it had that familiarity where these ships were being fitted with the holographic doctor program, and it just had that link to everything else. And it just worked really well.
And the other cameo I always appreciated was Ethan Phillips
on the holodeck.
On the holodeck, and he's the actor that plays Neelix in Voyager. But just to see him play that cameo as well in the film was just another nice little touch. Quite appreciated.
It's just an all-round enjoyable film, and I've always had a soft spot for it.
Well, throughout multiple script revisions, a number of titles were considered. Do you know any of these, Chris?
No, but I know some of the original ideas.
Okay.
They knew they wanted time travel, and there was something about they wanted something about the Middle Ages or medieval period, and they were like, no, that's not going to work.
No.
And I think even Patrick Stewart said, I'm not wearing tights again, because he'd done so much Shakespeare that it was like, I'm not wearing any more tights, or I think
that would have been a bad move. We've all seen that era before in films before. It was just big, I think what they did in the end was the best choice.
It just worked better, I think.
Anyway, some of the other titles considered included Star Trek Borg, Star Trek Destinies, Star Trek Future Generations, and Star Trek Generations 2.
I think Generations 2 was the working title of the film, wasn't it? Because was quite early on. I didn't...
I'm glad they didn't choose any of these. The planned title, they did have, they did nail this down to Resurrection. They're going to call it Star Trek Resurrection.
So generic, so
yeah.
Origins and general.
but this was scrapped when 20th Century Fox announced the title of the fourth Alien film as Alien Resurrection.
Nice.
So the film was rebranded First Contact on May the 3rd of 1996. First Contact's IMDb rating is 7.6. With a budget of $45 million, it grossed worldwide $146 million. So very, very impressive. Well, we've gone a little bit long on this episode, so we'll have to do the awards game another time. Thank you all so much for listening, as always. Next time, we delve into the TV shows of 1996. I've not even looked yet, so I have no idea what's going to come to us on that one. But look out for that in a couple of weeks' time. Don't forget, you can hear me and Rich talk video games with Andrew and Steve on the Dreamcast Years podcast, and I can also be found over at the Crossplayers. You can find those on Twitter at the Dreamcast Years and at the Crossplayers. And you can also now find Rich on the Dreamcast Junkyard podcast.
Yay.
He's now a fully fledged member of the team over there, and you can hear him on their podcast. Well, sorry, you can hear them on their DreamPod. And you can find them on Twitter at the DC Junkyard. You will also find a Linktree link in the show notes, which contains all our links, including our website, Twitter handles, and more. My name's been Jason, and you've been listening to What's Wrong with Wolfie, a 90s podcast to the max. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, Janelle. What's wrong with Wolfie? I can hear him barking.